All right, here we go. Theoretically, let's hope I don't have a black screen like last time. The feed is showing me as having an actual display. So if you want to, anyone watching this after the fact, you can skip the first few minutes, but I am going to get into things quickly and try to make this a fast stream as I want to go out walking and collect trash like I usually do later. Mute myself, go over here. So we're going to get all this started. And if you are actually watching this part, then I need to warn you guys that, oh, you can even see it up here. Starting on May 12th, YouTube is going to just brute force add midpoint ads in the middle of videos beyond on top of any that YouTubers put in there. Now, as you guys know, I do not. I've always said I will not put mid-roll ads in the middle of a video unless or if the video is shorter than 15 minutes. But YouTube is apparently just going to now do that anyways. So you guys saw the thing up on the screen there. I'm not actually going to have any choice in that. So when you start seeing those, please just know that that is not me. That's not me doing those. I only insert mid-roll ads if the video is 15 minutes or longer. But now YouTube's just gonna do that beyond my control anyways. Google Earth, let's get all this up. Come on, load. Oh wait, we have to go over here first. Then we're going over here. Set that, reorient. Okay. Have anything from anybody? No. Nobody's here anyways, because this is very early. This is earlier than I usually would be on, but that's because I want to do this now and walk around later. It's cooler outside, so it's also gives European breaks. It's less before your bedtime, so to speak. All right, so to start things off with, we have South Sudan, which had a civil war already, but now looks like they are about to enter another one as the two predominant there's two predominant major ethnic groups in the country. If I remember correctly, one is like this area, and then the rest is on the other area, kind of, divided by these small mountains here. And like in other places, like neighboring Ethiopia, for example, a lot of the politics is along the ethnic divide. And it seems the two are completely, at this point, diametrically opposed and want absolutely no form of integration anymore. So they've both been threatening to start fighting it out. So that was basically the same as the previous civil war back in the early 2010s, but we might be about to see a new one, which will result in a couple million starvation and medicine deprivation deaths again. And then speaking of which, going just up to the north of them in Sudan, the official recognized death toll from the Sudanese civil war that's been going on since 2023 has now finally been updated to something more realistic, other than the previous claims of like only a few thousand people. It's now finally actually being acknowledged that it's around 500,000. Again, most of those from interruption of food shipments and interruption of medicine distribution, as opposed to like combat deaths in terms of troops from the two different sides dying. That's somewhere between 20 and 40,000. And then there are a few tens of thousands of people who have died, mostly in Khartoum, where a lot of the everyone's just densely packed. So there are a few tens of thousands of people who have also died in terms of civilians from just having artillery land on their house. But also, the Sudanese civil war is just about over, as one faction has retaken Khartoum now and left the other one with mostly outfield stuff out over there. You can go scroll down here to, yeah, there's some these guys you can go to if you want to see like the different map progressions yourself of the fight as it went through the city over the last week or so. And the Khartoum is now under the control of the regular army, because the factions were the regular army and the rapid response forces. So you had General Number One and General Number Two, both of whom uh, worked with each other to overthrow the previous dictator, and agreed basically that once they overthrew him, then they would fight each other to see who gets to be the new one. And so in 2023, that's kind of what happened. They started fighting each other to see who gets to be the new one. Well, it looks like number one wins. We'll just designate the regular Sudanese army general as dictator number one. So dictator number one is now the winner and gets control of Sudan. And to the surprise of no one, like many other dictators, he is kind of insane and he has decided he's going to potentially, hasn't done it yet, but he's potentially going to go to war against Chad, you know, uh, because the UAE has been assisting the rapid response forces via drone strikes, some of which are launched from within Chad. And uh, instead of just like threatening to or going and destroying those setups, he wants to go to war with Chad itself, since, he can't really, Sudan's not really capable of doing anything to the UAE. But since Sudan and Chad's militaries are both just dudes in camo with some AKs and some jeeps, he can attempt to invade Chad. That is a thing he could do. It's not a wise thing, but it is something he can do. And that looks like apparently what he does feel like doing. So those are things that are now happening. Anybody? You you're not the new Portuguese guy, are you? I can't recall. I can't remember anybody's chat names except for a few specific people. Uh, no, the real sad history basket case for the African continent is Congo over here, because they're the ones that had like the five-way civil war for multiple decades in the later 1900s that resulted in the deaths of like 7 million people. Then they had another one in the 90s, then another one in the 2000s. Now there's another one that kind of just started as everything's breaking down in the eastern portion of the country. Now, back over here, the IDF is on a full clockwise spree. Everybody's getting bombed everywhere. Oops, see, what? I didn't ask for a highlighter. Zoom in. There we go. So, resumed mass bombing of Gaza, even though everything is already leveled in Gaza. And also, renewed inward push after uh, partially pulling out, but not really. The IDF has now begun pushing back into Gaza again, along with, zoom out here, continuing to bomb basically everything in southern Lebanon, anything that looks remotely Hezbollah-ish, and as well, continuing now, anytime the new Syrian government locates some previously unknown or stored military equipment from the previous Syrian army, Israel has been bombing any of those as they show up, and has also basically preemptively announced that they're going to invade Syria, saying that they're going to push up to this general area from the already this here is the Golan Heights that they've been in for decades. This here, you can see that dashed line is where they pushed into just recently, a couple months back. Now, they are saying that they're going to do this at some point in the immediate future, but they're also constantly bombing everything in Syria as well. And at the same time, after using like the new Syrian government is just aligned with Hezbollah, anything as an excuse, while continuing to use that as the justification, uh, Hezbollah has been like attacking and engaging the new Syrian government's military. They've been actively fighting with each other along the northern Lebanese border up here. So that is all ongoing, but there's not been any real specific big ones going on at the moment. Uh, there will be obviously once the actual invasion of Syria starts, and once the potential mass air campaign of both the IDF and the US against Iran starts. And Saudi Arabia might throw some of their Air Force in there too, because they want Iran gone so that they can pretend that they're a regional power, even though they're not really, because all they really have is money. It's really, in reality, it's Turkey, Israel, and Iran, with Saudi Arabia pretending that they're part of it. But in reality, it might soon just be Turkey and Israel because it might actually start going down with regards to Iran. So if we scroll down, find some of the up here with some of the additional notifications. Here's some of the NOTAM stuff. B-2 stealth bombers, assuming everybody's familiar with them, have been getting moved into position to Diego Garcia down here, British U.S. joints, Indian Ocean military base, inaccessible out there in the middle of the water, for the purpose of obviously eventually using them for strikes against Iran, as the deadline that was given to Iran to give up its nuclear program is beginning to approach. It's now only about a month away. I think it's specifically May 5th or May 4th, but I'm not positive. It is in the very beginning of May. It's in the single digits, but they have been given a deadline to give up their nuclear program, which they're almost certainly going to refuse. And possibly, I don't know if either one's actually going to commit to it right at this moment, with like this passing deadline as the actual trigger thing. But potentially that's going to be the final excuse that gets used for the IDF and now also the US via Diego Garcia and accompanying military bases across the Middle East to launch a air campaign against Iran, which will, of course, target the nuclear sites, but also is going to be used, if not by the U.S., then definitely by the IDF to just also wipe out any Iranian military equipment that they can actually get to. Now, Iran, similar to Taiwan, does have a lot of stuff in like underground mountain places. So they their military capacity would not be like able to be wiped out by just a single air campaign alone, because some portion of it would survive in those like deep underground bunker storage facilities. But to then do anything in retaliation afterwards, they would have to bring out the stuff that survived in those facilities, which would then make it vulnerable to then get struck. So that may be coming up, possibly. We'll see when early May actually gets here. Also, in the meantime, U.S. Primarily naval aviation via a carrier out here has been bombing Yemen constantly for almost 2 weeks now, striking everything Houthi related that is in sight. Uh, Videos and stuff from some of the launches up there, some more, including some cruise missile launches also, and the chillest dude ever. See if we can find him, or did we already pass him? Oh yeah, this dude. This dude is like, make sure volume's off. This dude is like the chillest dude ever. This like little booth shopkeeper guy in Yemen, just like completely nonchalant, unfazed. Like flinches a little bit, but like you could see him smiling at the camera there, at his like CCTV camera or whatever. He was like, "Oh, that was a big one." Dude just like does not care, zero phase whatsoever. So that is ongoing. And where are some of the other what were some of the other offhand stuff before we go to Russia, Ukraine, and other big events? We got those, got those, got those. Oh yeah. So unexpectedly, I did not expect them to actually willingly just give up. So Serbia over here, their government has just said, peace, yo, we're out. After a couple weeks of protests of several 100,000 people in the capital, in a country whose population is only about 6 million. So, that's like a substantial percent of the country's entire population, all like, surrounding the government buildings. So the Serbian government has actually abdicated, and they are going to, those were Turkey. Where's the Serbian one? They're, oh, yeah, sorry, not the peace symbol wear out, but the uh, peace wear out pushes glasses back up the bridge of my nose walkout. So they're going to have new, like, full wide elections soon, unless they double back on it, which, I wouldn't trust them not to, obviously, but they I guess, finally decided they wanted to see the writing on the wall with, their population doing the writing. So they finally pieced out on that. And then here in Turkey, we have uh, mass protests going on, but with people nationwide in the millions, in specific cities like Istanbul, obviously just in the hundreds of thousands. But people are, you know, kind of already knew Erdogan was a sort of dictator, but now recently, the mayor or governor of Istanbul was his primary uh, political opponent in the next upcoming election. And Vladimir Putin style, he kind of just had the guy ousted. And I guess he's not officially like in prison for anything. And he didn't, have him disappeared. But about as close to what Erdogan probably felt like he could get away with. So, that was like the big flag signal that set everybody off again. Uh, apart from apart from something I was really morally impressed by, that I absolutely applaud the people of Turkey over. So the Turkish government a few months back just announced that they were going to go around the country and do mass euthanasia, and they were just going to like kill all feral and stray cats, and that really set the people off. Like that was actually one of the largest protests that's ever been seen in that country. So the government kind of had to back down from that one, thankfully, because the Turkish people in present day are what everyone stereotypes the ancient Egyptian people for. The Turks are obsessed with cats, which gets a thumbs up from me, obviously, because I also love cats as predominantly my favorite animal. I also just, for the most part, love animals more than I care to interact with other people in general. So I'm not really sure what their angle was with that, other than you know sociopathy or full blown psychopathy. But now also they're out in the streets again because Erdogan is kind of making it clear that he's just there for life. Granted, he's kind of old like all the others are, anyways. But that would still be like another 20 years of putting up with him, possibly. Check chat like a responsible streamer. Blah blah blah. It's right. I mean, not really surprising that it still exists. It had about like 200,000 members, and most of what was bombed and destroyed was just rocket and weapon storage sites across southern Lebanon. I mean, like a few tens of thousands of them were killed, both by airstrikes and by combat with IDF ground forces. But their actual manpower isn't what took the hit here. It's their weapon supplies and their capacity to actually do anything. And regarding that other question, no, uh, the whole like Gaza relocation thing isn't going to magically happen with one country or unrecognized country after not magically happening with anybody else because everybody's just turning it down. Whether because they don't want an additional 2 million people out of nowhere or because, they're rejecting it on principle. Uh, Egypt, kind of already refused. Jordan already refused. Saudi Arabia already refused. I mean, they don't like poor people, anyways. Uh, the plan before the Somaliland proposition was to send them to Libya, and to the surprise of no one, Libya said no. Now, the latest blundered proposal is to dump them off in Somaliland, which is also not going to happen because although Somaliland, this part of Somalia up here, is better off at the time being than like the rest of Somalia, although Somalia as a whole is now stabilizing and moving up. Somaliland has been stable for a longer time and is in like a better position. They're still not in the infrastructural or economic position to just randomly take 2 million people out of nowhere. And also, there that would inevitably result in mistrust and ethnic clashes against the local population, anyways. So, this is going to continue probably being like a grand carousel ride around, just randomly throwing proposals into the air of this country or that country taking them, and everyone's just going to keep saying no. What else was I about? I was about to say something else also. Was it something from the sheet or was it something comment related? No, don't activate iTunes, please. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. What else do we have here? Okay, so more specific stuff that has happened in regards to the Ukraine-Russia war. Uh, to try to act like he did what he promised he would do, Trump, came out with the claims of having achieved a ceasefire in some big quotation marks here. Uh, and it was specifically a ceasefire regarding striking energy infrastructure. And that has officially, as recognized, been in place for 2 or 3 days. And for 2 or 3 days, Ukraine has not done drone swarm strikes on any of the oil refineries or pumping stations or anything. However, to the surprise of no one, because Russian propagandists on like the main Russian news channels literally publicly bragged about the fact that they weren't going to follow the ceasefire. They struck electricity, infrastructure, substations, and distribution lines in Kharkiv. So, to the surprise of no one, obviously, except for people who actually believed that it was going to be a legitimate thing, I guess. I don't, I would hope there are no such people, but unfortunately, I know there are probably people who legitimately bought it because the current US administration has quite literally an actual cult as opposed to just people picking one side over the other. The current behavior in the U.S. actually is like legitimately culty, and to my disturbance, my dad is decently kind of down the pipeline, so that is inevitably going to cause issues for me at some point. And also, I'm going to be on that terrorist list I mentioned because it wasn't just people actually setting like Teslas on fire. They specified that they want to include anyone who has ever said anything against Tesla, whatever against Tesla is supposed to mean, because they want to regard that as an act of espionage against the United States. Uh, that list includes millions of people, obviously, and I'm one of those millions of people because I've been denigrating and or degrading Tesla since I don't know 2017. Uh, so I'm pretty firmly on that list if that list ever is actually brought into existence. Now, for things that happened before the ceasefire, uh, between like March, I think 17th and 24, before the ceasefire actually became a thing, Ukraine did get a few more drone strikes in on a few facilities, a oil refinery slash storage depot slash pumping station. Because remember, every country has the pipeline network internally where oil and or gas are like pumped around, and there's always like pumping stations at certain areas that keep it flowing at a certain speed. One of those in Krasnodar was struck a few times. No, that's the gas one. Where's the? There it is. This one, and you can kind of see everything was burning pretty good there. So all like portions of it, the pipeline, the pumping station, the storage terminals, the little mini refinery stuff. That was all hit. And also, as Europe is starting to regrow its spine, to my surprise, actually, you guys are pleasantly surprising me, Deutschland. I said last stream that I didn't really trust you. You guys are surprising me a little bit, just a bit. Deutschland actually straight up seized and confiscated a full blown actual oil tanker that was transporting Russian oil out of the St. Petersburg, Leningrad area. So that's one removed from Russia's tanker fleet of tankers that are still willing to do stuff for them, on top of the three that sank in various locations across the Mediterranean and Black Sea over the last few weeks. So, uh, Deutschland or anyone else in Europe, if you feel like being even more spineful, you could up your spine account there and keep just intercepting and seizing any tankers departing from Russia. That would be nice. I would actually give you some credit as being worthwhile in your existence again, instead of, continuing after over 80 years now to just cry in the corner, sobbing to yourself about how you were a bad boy. Also, before the ceasefire came in, they did a drone strike on a gas pipeline pumping station, as just like with the oil pipeline, there is also, the pumping stations to keep the gas flowing at a decent rate. One of those was struck in Bryansk. And also, Engels, Engels base, which is over here, I believe, on the edge of Saratov. Engels was struck, and that is the primary base where Russia's bomber aircraft take off from to launch cruise missile strikes against Ukraine, which they have not really been able to do recently because they've run their expendable stocks thin, and also they're starting to come to into issues with their ability to keep manufacturing them at decent enough rates. Where is that? No, that's Middle East stuff. Middle East stuff. That was the crash. We'll talk about that in a minute. Where's the Engels stuff? Was it earlier? It's probably earlier. No, that's the gas pipeline. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. It was earlier then, because that's an image from a destroyed air defense system, which could defend neither itself nor Engels Air Force Base, apparently. So they struck Engels Air Force Base, and no, that's the other thing. Where was the satellites before and after thing? Oh, here it is. Oh, let's get it bigger. There you go. So you can see basically all the stored stuff, almost every structure, it's gone. And that is because, not because a lot of drones were used, and that was actually because everything just blew up. This was kind of just a, right circumstances, uh, right circumstances event where the things that were struck by the drone swarm, or the, Neptune missiles, is what Ukraine started to use now. Since no one will give them actual cruise missiles, they just started producing their own now. We probably did pump them with tech with tech stuff and components and everything, so that they could get the stuff up and running. But now they are producing their own in country. So now that also kind of removes outside leverage on them for what they're allowed to target and or not target, since they're doing it with their own equipment. But the stuff that got hit at Engels uh, happened to explode, just big enough to where it set off everything else around it. And the number of uh, guided or gliding bombs destroyed unknown. The amount of dumb bombs or regular just drop it and it blows up when it hits the ground bombs unknown. The only thing that there's a rough count of is roughly 100 cruise missiles, air launched cruise missiles, were taken out in that strike. Whether those were part of the remaining ones that they just want to hold on to, in case something else happens, or whether uh, they were accumulated and actually about to be used for renewed strikes. Also, not exactly certain, but they're gone now. Also, we have entered a new period of Russia's Air Force just kind of abruptly falling from the sky due to various forms of engine failure and guidance system failures. So, let's see, where was the most recent one? One was shot down, but the others were just actual failures. Or technically, this will be the oldest one because we're going backwards in time by scrolling down. And so much fire, so much burning. All right, where is. I think this is getting into that stuff from the prior stream. Okay. So the aircraft stuff was more recent. This first one, I think, was a Su-34 that did, yeah, this one, the Su-34. Uh, couldn't even deploy its landing gear, so it had to do just a belly scrape landing, which left it rather significantly damaged afterwards. So nice, nice sled across the pavement there. And is that, no, that was the helicopter strike. We will get to helicopter strike in a second. But where was the cargo one? There we go. Uh, one of their uh, one of their Air Force cargo planes had an interesting landing there. Now, benefit of the doubt, I'm going to assume just breakdown and equipment failure. While the comments are as they will be, and as they should be, full of jokes about how the pilots were probably just drunk. Uh, let's see, back down to the help. Oh yeah, I forgot. Also, so the Russian Air Force apparently uh, can't it's out of forklifts that can't get a hold of them because you would think with the military budget that they could just the military could just purchase them, but somehow that's not happening. So there's apparently a shortage of them, and they are starting to want donations, and they're starting to transport and lift their bombs with whatever this is that they're towing with a bicycle. So this is real second most powerful military in the world level stuff here. And also all along the way and stuff, there if you go to primarily the Noel Reports channel, there's plenty of more videos. I can't play stuff like this on the channel because these obviously show like actual like moments of people's deaths and bodies flying apart and stuff. But they're are, as usual, uh, plenty of additional new videos day by day, week by week of more Russian like bonsai charging at the front line, which ends exactly how it has always been ending. Where was the helicopter stuff? Blah blah. Heavy equipment. Ah, here we go. I don't remember whether there were actual people next to these, so I can't. I'm just out of precaution. I'm not going to show this one, but there were four helicopters, two of which were regular M8 transport ones, but two of which were Ka-52 attack helicopters that were destroyed on the ground. The initial thing or suspicion was that four got shot down, but later it was confirmed they were parked on the ground, and in the time frame they were there, they managed to get hit. So that was a 4-for-1 takeout order. And also, as the offenses continue, trying to grab as much as possible, and now going in the opposite direction just a little bit, as Russia's land gain within Ukraine has now started to go negative in terms of square kilometers gained per week. The assaults, as they launch them, and this is just the ratio for actual like large military vehicles. This isn't when I say civilian vehicles, I'm not including the hundreds of guys that they send like charging to their deaths on motorbikes or whatever. But in terms of actual like at least four wheels structural vehicles, the makeup was usually for the longest time like draw a line down here, like a third or 25% tanks, and the rest were, IFVs or AFVs, infantry assault vehicles. We've now been getting to the point where it is 10 or below percent tanks, as they are running into their limit with how much left they can still rip out of storage that are usable. They, in theory, still have quite a lot in storage, but they're not exactly restorable to operating condition. So you would think, is this, gap being filled by mostly IFVs and AFVs? No, it is the IFV AFV ratio is still roughly the same or percentage, but a broader gap is now 30+% being filled by civilian vehicles, aka cars and pickup trucks. Like quite literally just cars and pickup trucks used as things to charge the front line with. Again, it ends exactly how you would expect it to end. And they have now passed the halfway point in terms of, or actually they passed it a while ago, but they passed the 60, roughly 60% point in terms of towed artillery, or the towed artillery guns, as opposed to like self-propelled guns like the US's M109 Paladin, or the Russians version is the uh, Mistitsia or something like that. They were running thin on those, and they had primarily been switching over to towed guns now, including, as you saw in previous streams, some that are actually genuinely from World War II. Now we've passed the point where they've 60% or so of what they had in storage across various spaces all over the place in terms of towed artillery guns. 60% or more now of what they had on storage, in storage at various bases across Russia, have now disappeared from imagery, indicating that they've been taken to be used. How many of them are ones that already have been used, and have been destroyed, and also not just destroyed by like Ukraine striking them or whatever, but also because as they fire the guns more and more, Russia has consistently had a habit of just firing them endlessly until the barrels like begin to deform and wear out, as opposed to like doing rotations or having a lesser artillery fire rate, because artillery curtain pushing is kind of like deeply ingrained in their military tactics. So that is now also a wear down aspect. In regards to IFVs and AFVs, when they will start getting to their limits on that, and you'll see that proportion start also declining, and everything start falling over to predominantly civilian vehicles. That will take another few months at the current rate, unless it, changes upwards or downwards. Let me tell about that. On average, like 100. So yeah, that would probably be late summer, early fall. If the current rate of usage continues, they would start running into a wall and start thinning the limit on that, and they would have to start using almost all civilian vehicles, which they can keep using. As long as they still have more dudes who they can send to die, then it'll still work until it doesn't. And what else do we have here? We got the aircraft stuff, oil and gas stuff, tanks and civilian vehicle percentages, Engels Air Force Base, the ceasefire that isn't really a ceasefire. Oh, yeah. Apart from Deutschland slightly impressing me, I'm waiting to see more from you. We have more and more giga chattery going on across Europe now. The Czech Republic here, Česko. The Czechs are going into hyperdrive mode, and they are now just like cranking out those artillery shells and uh, their own their own new self-propelled artillery gun system. So they themselves, apart from they're going to eventually be giving some of those to Ukraine as well. They themselves are also becoming less and less dependent on other countries for weapon systems. So, despite being a small country both in land and population, Czechs are doing super above their weight punching on this. UK, I'm waiting to see if you guys actually do what you promise, along with you, Deutschland. But elsewhere, we also have Giga Chattery from my bros in Norway. I actually have quite a lot of commenters over the past have been from Norway, surprisingly, or as I refer to it, European Alaska. Since I'm from Alaska and Norway is, or at least decent parts of it are similar. One of us is a country, the other one is a state, but we're both kind of semi petro states, but not entirely or really. Norway is actually throwing its oil and gas money around now. And after saying it was going to do 3 billion euros worth of arms purchases sent to Ukraine, just came out of the blue a few days back and upped it to 8 billion because unlike some others, Norway kind of has the cash to throw around. And over in France, France is coming back in terms of boldness. And although, again, I still don't like a fair amount of his other stuff, but in regards to the whole dealing with Russia aspect, I do give full props to Macron for going actual Giga Chad mode and is standing on the line is standing on the line or holding the line and again rebuffed Russia's demands to dictate what happens in places that are not Russia, and announced once again for the third time that as the desire of Ukraine, a European force will be stationed in Russia in the future indefinitely, regardless of what Russia wants, because Ukraine is not Russia, a fact that Russia seemingly just psychologically cannot grasp. And what else was there? Oh, yeah. A bit of a holdup on some stuff from Spain and Italy as they want to whine and complain about their deficits as if they think they are going to, like, they were somehow going to get out of them. You are, you already know that you're kind of demographically screwed. And I mean, your economies aren't going to tank, but they're going to be staying pretty stagnant for the foreseeable future. So unless you did like massive pension cutting or something, which would piss off your aging population, you're not going to be doing any like massive financial holdbacks that were going to be like lowering your deficit anytime soon. So, but the biggest European appreciation on, well, technically it has to go to Poland. Secondly, it will go to France. In terms of who has the most weight and military weight and is actually now going full hardcore commitment, then it would be France. I'm preemptively trusting the UK, but I don't want to actually really get behind that too much. Deutschland, maybe. Seizing that oil tanker was nice. Now you should do it again and again and again. And you know, anything else, you want to actually like prove that you're not just talking. Czechs, super giga chads as always. Even have a just like Poles, have a habit of being told by everyone who once backed them in situations to not fight back when a situation then ended up happening, but still then fighting back anyways. So Poland was always going to go hyper armament because no matter how right wing their government goes, the you know not putting up with this again desire was always going to be above all others in Poland's regard. Oh yeah, I forgot. Sorry, and Sverige, Sweden. Sweden has actually surprised me quite a bit. Sweden is actually going decently into it with the upspending and with the stuff that they've started actually sending, as they've now started to pump Ukraine full of Archer artillery systems. Sweden, you guys are surprising me because you guys were always the ones in the corner with the higher than thou, behold our pacifism attitude nonsense. So I am being decently surprised by Sweden's attitude. All right. Was anything else? Oh yeah, ULA, United Launch Alliance, got approved to start taking satellite launch contracts from the U.S. military, and eventually, like the others, will follow suit. So that's nice. Uh, shove SpaceX a bit out of the room, start spreading the percentage around, and get some more control out of the hands of the spastic South African idiot. France sending more stuff. That was the Sudan stuff. Those were the crashes. I don't have anything else written on the sheet, so I'm just going to do a quick scroll down to see if I see anything I forgot. So close your eyes if you don't want to get like a seizure or something from the screen moving too quick. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. So, trying to pretend it has like a moral high ground it can stand on, or rather, a moral molehill that it can stand like 2 inches above its normal position on. Instead of doing away with everyone or forcing everyone in the occupied regions to serve as meat waves, Russia has announced that it's going to expel the Ukrainians from the portions of Ukraine that it occupies if they won't accept Russian citizenship, which they won't. So they're going to use that to expel them, to thus then say that, hey, look, everybody who's here is actually just Russian, therefore it's Russia, which the Trump administration in the U.S. will immediately parrot. So that is also a thing that is happening. No new China Taiwan stuff yet. We still have a few months before we would start seeing like a massive movement of force towards the coasts if China does decide that they're going to go for it this year. So still waiting to see if that starts to happen or not. All right, seizure time again. Is there anything else that I forgot? Now it looks like all stuff from the same strikes. Uh, more stuff of the more stuff from IDF pushing into Gaza. China shows off its quote unquote 6th gen fighter, which is not exactly what it was hyped up to be. 6th gen stuff altogether, though, is also not in its entirety, like worldwide, is not really uh, that far beyond 5th gen stuff. Like 5th gen was like uniquely different because it was like the first real deployment of smoothness and super stealth stuff. 6th gen aircraft are basically, they're kind of just going to be 5th gen ones, but with some extra AI stuff thrown into them, unfortunately, because it's all AI everything. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Uh, Russia is not in the because Russia actually has resources on hand. Their issue is like, actual technology and machine and vehicle components, because as part of the whole answer the top quickly Soviet culture thing to meet numbers and demands from Moscow out of fear of job removal or reprisal, those in the various industries for making things, producing oil, making aircraft, making tanks or whatever, they kind of, instead of taking years and delays and extra needed spending to develop everything in house, they kind of always just purchased outside stuff because, that was quicker and the outside stuff was better. So they designed a lot of things, but in large part built them with foreign components. And getting cut off from those has strained them, but they have still been able to get a certain amount smuggled to them via like multiple country chains. Like a company in Turkey will purchase components and then will sell them to another country in Azerbaijan, who will then sell them to another country in Uzbekistan, who will sell them to another company in Kazakhstan, who will then sell them to a non-military company in Russia, who will then sell them to the actual Russian military industry. And so that causes, biting delays and also like mega boosted end prices for actually getting a hold of the stuff. That's where Russia's main holdback comes from, not the actual like resources themselves, the oil and gas and metal or whatever, but they are also starting to have issues with that as their oil production has been on its way downwards, because a lot of the components used in those industries are also foreign components. Like their mining equipment, a lot of their mining trucks and equipment are Japanese. They prefer using Komatsu mining trucks and mining equipment, which I mean is a good choice. Like outside of war-related stuff, I actually applaud the Russian mining industry on, what choices they made. Like, choosing as opposed to choosing to go with like Russian-made stuff or with Chinese stuff. Now, however, since the war started, they haven't been able to get any more Komatsu equipment. I saw someone ask uh, if the nuclear sites are going to be struck in Iran. You can go back earlier in the stream. We talked about that earlier around, it looks like, yeah, started talking about it around negative 50 minutes or so, I think. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Even the 2020s are complete and absolute trash overall. I've said this before. I said this before when I was talking about. I forgot why I was talking about the past, but I was talking about human quality of life overall. Yeah, as it tied into heavily tied into like net energy yields and net mineral yields and everything. I was talking about how it peaked and plateaued in the 2010s and is now starting to creep downwards as like overall affordability is starting to drift a bit out of reach compared to what it was income related in the 90s and 2000s. 90s and 2000s, as long as I could take, say, Discord back with me, screw X and Twitter and everything, as long as I could take Discord and have the same, instant chatting, interconnectability with my friends from all over, some of whom, as I've said in the past, despite me being obviously Russophobic, since I don't take Russia's side in a war where they're the invader. Some of those friends are, in Russia. Some are also in Ukraine. One's in Belarus, one's Lithuanian, two are Polish. As long as I could take Discord back with me, so that I could, actually speak with my friends that easily. By all means, take me back to the 90s or especially the early 2000s. I would even at this point, I would easily go back to the 2010s because 2010s, uh, I was, still living up home in Alaska, which I don't anymore because 2020 happened. Now I'm stuck living in South Carolina. Uh, I easily would go back to the 2010s as well because even though the way I phrased it was in the 2010s, you knew it was over. In the back of your mind, we knew it was over, but there was still enough. There was still enough at hand and enough new things pushing forward. There were legitimately new things, new tech developments, and everything that were still beneficial. There was enough there to where we could still pretend it wasn't over for that entire decade. Uh, Now we've entered the period of it's inescapable and you can't run away from it anymore. So I want nothing to do with this. Take me back, please. And yes, regarding Russia is also at that point for their behind the scenes pulling stuff like sleds full of artillery shells up to the front. They are using donkeys, and in several places along the front lines, they are having dudes actually ride horses up to the front to then, uh, or having horses pull carriages full of the, motorbikes that they're then going to use for the frontline suicide charges. They have reached that point as well because they have exhausted their military supply truck fleet. As while, for example, the U.S. keeps on hand between 10 and 20,000 military supply trucks, Russia, for some reason, only saw fit to ever keep about 3,000 on hand, and they've effectively gone through those. And their manufacturing of new ones every month was only able to maintain a rate of 12 per month, and they have begun eating into the new ones that they've manufactured since the war began, and they only have a few hundred of those left. So, in terms of actually getting things to the front, they're using horses and donkeys, and in some cases, they are still using those infamous Scooby Doo vans that started appearing a while back. Was okay. Anything else? Questions? Logistics. uh, no. Taiwan is not. Nope. Now we're done. Okay. The amount of stuff they've poured in to and developed explicitly for doing amphibious landings, and the amount of time and effort they've put into several coastline locations in some of their lakes inland, where they've made full scale like reconstructions of several Taiwanese coastal cities and military bases to practice doing airstrikes on them. Taiwan is absolutely what they want. Because it's part of their whole, uh, you know, reunification, one banner, one glorious CCP narrative. And also, they want they want the semiconductor manufacturing tech. They want to get control of that. Uh, Even though Taiwan has already said, both threatening China and warning the rest of us, the world at wide, that if that when China does invade, they're going Taiwan themselves is going to actually blow up the semiconductor facilities, just as a giant middle finger of denial. So China has always wanted this. This has always been their primary thing. Uh, if they were going to still be the version of themselves that they pretending that they are right now, if we're glitching out again, no. If they wanted to like get territory up here from Russia, if they were still the rich and powerful that they're pretending to be, then they would just wait until Russia buckles under everything and is in a like very economically desperate state, and they would just like offer to like buy stuff. Like, I don't know, give us this uninhabited chunk here. We'll pay you $1 trillion or something like that. No, the military effort is entirely about Taiwan. Although they will have to keep stuff on hand over here because there is always the inevitable risk issue that at some point you might try to strike and bomb the various dams along the rivers that come down out of the Himalayas and into India's river systems, because China has been slowly damming those and creating a large aqueduct and pipeline system to transport more of that water to parts of China that are otherwise not well supplied and are going to be depleting their groundwater in coming decades, particularly up in the north. As India also is going to be depleting its groundwater around the 2040s or so, and that's going to cause quite a number of issues. And also, there is the impending potential, however brief, water war maybe between Pakistan and India. Were there any other major questions? Uh, just okay. Don't need to address them. Just covered that. Like them to give it to them. Hold on. And also, they wouldn't really need to use their military like all that much to defeat Russia at this point. Uh, Going for Taiwan, especially since we are going to directly intervene on Taiwan's behalf, that is the thing they really need to actually have military strength for. But speaking of time periods and speaking of time periods, since we were going through the whole 2010s and 2000s versus the 2020s thing, as we end the stream, basically end it with going into going over here, going into these maps. These are maps I made of the world in 2059. No special like cataclysmic events or developments happened or anything. So there's no aliens, no Yellowstone eruption. This is for one of my original writing works. It's not a fan fiction of anything. Called What Remains. And that is primarily just about a glimpse into semi-normal life and what it will most likely look like and feel like in that time period for different types of people for a character who might as well be me, but 67, uh, for a surprise character who I will mention another time, and from semi from the perspective of children as well. And events that did happen between now and then are touched on, and events that are ongoing in that time, as I suspect they most likely will be, like something I refer to as the Second Deforestation War. Those get shown and touched on as well. But the main focus is primarily on just showing life at that time around 2060 or so. Uh, Story starts in 2059, ends in probably, I would say, 2063. But for the map regarding that story, this is effectively both fictional and non-fictional because this is just, again, real world. These are the likely populations of countries at that time based on the best projections I've been able to make with the most recent demographic trend data, including both birth rates, death rates, and immigration patterns. So, and including also changes to the map, obviously, as a result of various events that are uh, coming up. Everybody suspects stuff with Russia and China, but few people, because people aren't really usually paying attention to it, few people suspect the inevitable shattering of Ethiopia, which is a thing that's coming up, and the high likelihood of a potential of a shrinkage of Iran. And for the sake of my Kurdish friends, because I do actually have some of those, I decided to just go with the heads or tails coin on since it would be a 50-50 coin flip for Kurdistan. I went with the positive one and have Kurdistan actually come out and end up being a thing. Not without conflict, though. There is a war of Kurdish independence that occurs. That is during the that's during the 2030s. Balochistan becomes a thing as well. And then there's some other like micronation split offs, but I didn't really include those. So I'm gonna put these up in the folder where everything usually is. Hold on, I'll show you guys that. So anybody who's new or who doesn't already know, if you go to any video that I've made in the last like 6 months, in the description there is a Google Drive folder link. You go here, and there are folders with all kinds of subfolders full of all kinds of different data. Like the oil data folder has stuff on future oil production projections, oil consumption by product breakdowns for each country, oil demand graphs. You can see for each country. I've started making and compiling all of these. They're free for all you guys to access at any time. As a lot of stuff is starting to get put behind paywalls now. Like here, I'll show you tradeandeconomics.com is the one that people would usually go to see like oil production graphs. And they do show you them for just a few recent years. If you try to go big, you try to go for all time, you get hit with the paywall. So everyone's doing paywalls now. This is not behind a paywall. You can access this just by clicking that link. It's completely free. You can use this in your own videos or economic projects or whatever. The only thing I ask, not a stipulation. I'm just asking if you somehow make like a huge amount of money off of something by using some of the graphs and stuff I put together. Like if you just magically make a video that on YouTube, for example, and you get like $10,000 of ad revenue, it'd be nice if I could have like 1 or 2% of that. But that's also still not a stipulation, and this will never be behind a paywall. Uh, but I'll probably include another folder here, and I'll upload some of these maps related to what remains in 2059. And eventually, when I have, I'll say, the first chapter done, maybe I might upload that briefly and allow people to read it. But I will swiftly take that down afterwards. Uh, and not a lot will be seen again until I have everything relatively ready. But yeah, these are uh, in millions, obviously. These are the likely population numbers of the time based on the best projections I could make. And you can find those projections in population and demographics. I did population projections for many countries. Uh, like for example, one of the sad cases obviously is Belarus, who in 2059 uh, in 2059 that's actually a small news blip that occurs like in the background of chapter 2 or 3 is that particular day it gets announced that Belarus announces its population has now fallen below 5 million. It got held off a little bit longer than it would have otherwise, as I suspect it will in real life, because after the Russia shattering stuff and Putin is no longer holding up Lukashenko or holding a gun to Lukashenko's head. Lukashenko, as he has kind of, this is a legit thing, he's kind of subliminally pleaded for help and hinted to us that the moment Putin no longer has a gun to his head, he will actually kind of just willingly abdicate and intends to flee to Dubai to go live in a penthouse in some luxury skyscraper for the rest of his life, which we have probably, us being Europe, the US, etc., we've probably made some kind of back channel secret agreement with him on that of like, when all of this finally falls down, if you willingly just give up power and, flee to Dubai, we won't pursue you. No one will actually like press ICC charges against you or anything. So we probably actually have made kind of a backroom deal with him about that. And the only promise he wouldn't have is we can't promise you. There's no way we could promise you like Ukrainian SBU won't eventually like try to assassinate you there or anything. But yeah, those graphs are up on that uh, in that doc as well, along with again so many other graphs about so many other things and other. There's other stuff where like uh, I accidentally have the stuff still in scrolling Google Docs. I have to transfer those into folders full of graphs, but I will take care of that eventually. And I do update the graphs as often as I can, as often as new data comes out. It is it's a bit tedious, but I do constantly work on that, so don't worry. And that is probably going to be it for this one, as I've run. Have I gone overtime? Oh yeah, I've gone way overtime. Yeah, Balochistan becomes a thing as it's likely going to, along with, uh, is it the other one that's zoomed in? Along with, as the regime collapses and Iran falls into semi another revolution just in the other direction, Azerbaijan, as I kind of expect them to in real life, Azerbaijan sort of makes a grab for the Azerbaijani inhabited portions there, with Turkey backing them on that, because Turkey will, when this eventually does happen, wants to do everything to continually suppress Iran after Iran has already buckled, because Turkey wants to uh, only have one regional rival because they know they can't get rid of Israel because the U.S. will always be backing Israel. And then also the Kurdish thing happens, and in story or in the past of the story, since this is 35 years from now, just as I suspect it would require if Kurdistan does try for it, the Kurdistan one does end up having to be an actual full-blown independence war, predominantly predominantly against Iraq and some form of Syria. Although Turkey does start bombing them a bunch, but eventually the U.S. starts forcing Turkey out of that because because we prefer the Kurdish government to be in control, as they are a lot more favorable towards the outside world in regards to oil reserve allocations. All right, that's going to be it for this one. Uh, Iran bombed Strait of Hormuz, oil facilities. They might try to. The amount of air defense and stuff that we have there, along with the UK and France and the Gulf nations themselves, would probably be enough to deal with anything. Although some stuff would inevitably get through. So it's not what people like doom post about Iran being able to do. They wouldn't be able to actually shut down the Strait of Hormuz or completely decimate the UAE and Saudi Arabia's oil production. They would probably get some hits through though, and would cause some damage. And oil prices would like mega spike because of that briefly. But the as long as we're opening up with predominantly stealth strikes, a huge amount of stuff would also have been dealt with beforehand. And Iran has constantly been tossing away more and more of its actual strike capacity as it, has its occasional 300 ballistic missile waves that it throws over towards Israel. But they still do have about 2,000 on hand that they can try stuff with. However, remember, setting those up takes time and they have to bring them out from the underground facilities, which makes them vulnerable to airstrike campaigns. All right, that is going to be it then. So I will see you guys around next time.